As you may or may not know, my wife and I just got back from Vegas. It was a great trip. We ate, we drank, we had a blast. But then we got home and looked at the credit card, and I gotta say, it doesn't matter how much fun you're having, $25 for a drink is a ripoff. Frickin' Vegas. I hate getting ripped off, and so do the lads over at Harry's. They spent years watching the razor blade companies rip people off and said, no more. Not all heroes wear capes, my friends, and they want to prove that they're legit by offering you hot dogs a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/RTG. I've been telling you about them for months, and I'm genuinely proud to have Harry's as a sponsor of this show. I wasn't kidding. The plastic, futuristic-looking crap razors you get at the store are overpriced and they're poor quality. Harry's blades are crisp, clean, and classy. They're the kind of razor you'd expect your grandpa to have on his bathroom counter. And most importantly, they work. Shave after shave, they're so smooth, they're precise. I used to go through the crappy store blades all the time, but Harry's are built to last. And they're not just better quality than the other names, they're more affordable. And they deliver. Just set your schedule, and for as little as $2, new blades, shaving creams, lotions, everything you need, right to your door when you need it. I genuinely cannot think of a reason not to try Harry's. And I'm not just saying this because they're sponsors. They're the best shaving supplies I've ever used. Try them out, and if you're not happy, your shave's on them. And unlike the other subscriptions, they're really easy to cancel if you want to too, which is a nice bonus, but believe me, you're not going to want to cancel. Getting ripped off isn't funny. Switch to Harry's. Get started with a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/RTG. That's harrys.com/RTG for a $3 trial set. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Remember the Game. It is my retro gaming podcast where every week a buddy of mine and I sit down and we geek out about the games we played back in the day. My name is Adam Blake. Thank you so much for listening to the show. And this week it is episode 234, and we're going back to the NES and talking about one of the many NES games that focused on a movie or a TV show from the good old days. This time it's Dick Tracy, and maybe you didn't play this one back in the day, but everyone that grew up in the NES era played a couple of these licensed games, right? Ghostbusters, Ninja Turtles, Friday the 13th, Back to the Future, Addams Family, Jaws, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Bucky O'Hare, the list goes on and on and on. Everything got an NES game back in the day. Now, I'm going to get this out of the way right now. I've never seen Dick Tracy. I don't know anything about Dick Tracy. You should all get used to the idea that I haven't seen any movies by now. All I know about this man is he apparently loves the color yellow. His name is hilarious, and his NES game is hard as fuck. But the thing is, most NES games are tough. But some are just stupid, annoying, not even fun tough. And some of them are put in your reps, get good, one more run, you can get there tough. And I think Tracy falls in the middle. I don't think this game is great. Quite frankly, I spent most of this week's podcast making fun of it. But at the end of the day, they tried some stuff here. They tried to get a little bit inventive, and I respect that. And it's too bad that they didn't try giving you more than one fucking life, because that might have fixed a lot of the issues with this game. But we'll get to all that in just a minute. I still like this dumb game. As does show supporter / friend / confidant Hago Waffle, who sponsored this episode over on Patreon. So Hago and I had a nice little chat about why on earth anybody would love this game enough to talk to me about it. And then the Luigi to my Mario, my younger brother Josh swings by, and we had a nice chat about Dick Tracy. We used to rent this game all the time when we were kids, and the little shit, he's actually bigger than me, my little brother. So the big shit, he can beat it. So he tries to teach me how to get good at this, to no avail. And we're going to get to all that in just a minute, because speaking of my failing to get good at something, it's time for yet another edition of the Remember the Game infamous intro. Dun, 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 dun. And if you're new to the podcast, welcome aboard. Consider this your warning. Our intros are kind of long, but they're fun. They're not half as fucking cryptic as Dick Tracy is, while still managing to be as promiscuous as Breathless Mahoney is as well. And man, I bet you in 234 episodes, that's got to be the first promiscuous. That has got to be the first promiscuous in Remember the Game history. So what a great word. I don't know how to spell it. It's in my notes, and it's spelled wrong twice. Promiscuous. I don't know. Anyway, but seriously, if you do want to skip the intro, you're just here for Dick Tracy talk. You're just here for the dick. Go about 30 minutes. I had to make that joke once. Go about 30 minutes up the road, and you'll be there. You'll hear the music, and we're talking Dick Tracy. But I recommend hanging around. The intro's fun. We talk video games and stuff. I do have to get my plugs out of the way, because as you know, it's how we keep the bills on around here. We have merchandise, hoodies, t-shirts, coffee mugs, posters, all kinds of stuff, rocking incredible art, drawn by my man Joe from 4545creative.com. And you can find our merchandise at rememberthegamepodcast.com. If you're interested, it's a great way to support the show. And of course, if you're like me, you're a nudist, you're like, I don't need clothes. I might be nude while I'm recording this. You'll never know. You can always just support us on Patreon. That's maybe your best bet, because it's about the best bargain in the history of the internet. For $2 a month, you get 2 extra podcasts every single week. You get exclusive access to my gaming news show, Game Patch, every Friday, where I look at all the biggest news in modern video games and I add in my opinions and some profanity and stuff. And Expansion Pass drops every Thursday, and that's a different show every week. We do some rankings. We look back at characters, consoles, franchises. There's some comedy episodes. There's a ton of modern game reviews over there. This past week on Expansion Pass, our topic was in the hands of our community, and we decided to throw 2 of the most iconic retro game libraries of all time into the ring in a duel to the death. We've got the SNES and the original PlayStation, and we just compared their libraries and tried to decide which one was better. I think it's pretty up in the air. This was a very fun episode, and as is becoming tradition, here is a sneak peek of last week's episode of Expansion Pass, the SNES versus the PlayStation. But the Super Nintendo is, in my opinion, like the pinnacle of 16-bit 2D gaming. It's that the golden age of retro. That's the crown jewel of that 2D era of gaming. Do you know what? Like, it is the Super Nintendo is like the culmination of years and years of 2D game development, and the NES, and prior to that with the Atari and everything, and Sega even. Like, in my opinion, the Super Nintendo is that king of that era. Whereas they kind of started over with 3D games when it came to the 64 and the PS1 and the other, also rans. And I think it's quite impressive that the PlayStation is the beginning of an era against the crown jewel of the bygone era. And I think they can go toe to toe. Does that make sense? Like, and I didn't think that until I sat down and started looking at the libraries, and I was like, fuck me, the PlayStation was a beast. So that's now available on our archives. And this week for Expansion Pass 148, we're entering review month for the show. I have a lot of modern games that I've been playing over the last couple of months, and I'm going to start slapping reviews out for them. And we're going to kick things off with God of War Ragnarok. And I will warn you, 99% of my modern game reviews on Expansion Pass are spoiler-free, so you can listen to them if you haven't played, and I won't ruin the game for you. Ragnarok is going to be different. It's going to be a very rare exception where we're going full-blown spoiler cast, because that game is just so much of the plot is part of the game, and it's such a hard game to review without spoiling anything. So we're gonna rip the Band-Aid off and go with a full-blown God of War Ragnarok spoiler cast on tomorrow's episode of Expansion Pass. And then next week I'll be reviewing Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core Reunion spoiler-free, and then the week after that it's either going to be Marvel Midnight Suns or the Dead Space remake spoiler-free. It'll depend on which one I finish first, because I'm playing both. But eventually I'll be reviewing both of them. But that's what the next couple weeks of Expansion Pass look like. So again, $2 is going to get you access to all those shows, 2 extra podcasts every week, instant access to about 300 archived bonus podcasts, all ad-free, downloadable onto your phone, bada bing, bada boom. Plus, access to the Remember the Game Discord, the chance to vote in our Patreon poll every month, the ability to submit comments on all of our podcasts. You can DM with me, and you get a shout out to get to hear me mispronounce your name like I'm about to do to most of these people. A huge thank you to all of our newest Patreons: Dalton Madsen, Big Kid 782, Adam Blank still hasn't reviewed Banjo Tooie, maybe stick around for another couple months, hint hint, Crease 20XX, Jay Callahan, Robert Jobert, Jerome McGinley is my dad, I love Jerome McGinley, Keith Rolla, Funkadelic Mind, Brian Adamson, Robier, Guy Who Does Things, I like that, JJ Mifsud, I always want to say Cam Neely. Chris Neely. Sabin or Sabin. Man, I suck at this job. Pat Rion. Nick Pickmon. Shyclops, I get it. Riley Farley. Mason. Wyatt Best. Pika 121. Tony Pidwan. And the habitual line stepper. Man, that was among the most butchered bunch of shout-outs I've ever done. But thank you all so much for the support, and welcome to Remember the Game Industries. You can find all that at patreon.com/rememberthegame. Don't forget, 5% of our Patreon income gets donated to a charity every year on my 24-hour stream, and we offer annual subscriptions that'll save you a month's fees. And starting in March, I'm launching a bi-weekly Simpsons podcast, Purple Monkey Dishwasher. That and my weekly Rambling Idiot podcast are available at our $5 level. So if you're signed up at the $5 Patreon level, you're going to be getting a new episode pretty well every day of the week. But $2 gets you 2 extra shows a month. Greatest bargain ever. So there you go. And you can find me on Twitch. I've been trying to get more active on there and kind of sticking to it. I've been on there 3-4 times a week. Twitch.tv/rememberthegame. Come by, throw me a follow. It's completely free. And then you can see my dumb face and argue with me. And it's good times. All right? That's enough blowing myself. Let's blow some of you by blowing in some cartridges. It is our opening segment here on the show. I read a few comments and questions from our patrons, usually gaming related, but not always. And we call this segment Blowing in the Cartridge.
He blows all right. He blows big time.
That's it, honey. Get into the spirit.
And I want to say, let's blow, by the way. If my voice sounds just a little hoarse, it's not from it is from blowing, but not ironically on an episode called Dick Tracy. It's not from blowing, it's from talking, blowing hot air. I've had a lot of comedy gigs this past week, and I've done a lot of podcasting, and my poor voice could use a night off. So anyway, if I sound hoarse, that is why. Let's kick this thing off. Tear or tear? Oh, I get it. Tear. Oh, dude, that's the Family Guy thing. Tear Griffin. Oh my God, they spelt it just like if you've never seen that episode, Peter's trying to come up with a fake name and he ends up Tear Griffin. And that's what this name, that's fucking clever. I just caught that. Jesus Christ. Tier wrote in and said, I'm only writing in because this episode has the name Dick in the title. Insert childish laugh here. Now here's the thing. That's hilarious. We got lots of dick jokes. I had to get one in. P-Tier has been a Patreon for quite a while. And unless you just recently changed your name to that, and I don't know, maybe you've been writing in forever under a different alias, I've never seen a comment from you. And I would like to believe that you have been a Patreon for quite a long time. And this was you're like, it's finally time to rip off the Band-Aid and write in my first comment. And it was nothing other than to make a quick little dick joke. And if that is the case, tip of my backwards hat to you, P-Tier Griffin, for waiting that long to write in just to make a dick joke. I love it. God, this show is just the top shelf quality. Welsh Destroyer said, hi, Adam. As I write this out, today marks my 33rd birthday and 30 years since I played my first game console. Have you ever looked back and thought about what games or consoles you didn't get to play but would like to try out and play today? For me, it would be the Nintendo 64. Thank you, and keep rolling the awesome content. Well, thank you, Welsh Destroyer, and happy birthday. Happy belated birthday. I said I wouldn't be yelling out birthdays, and fucking here it is. Happy belated birthday. What game or console did I not get to play, but I'd like to try to go back and play today? I know some of you are hoping I'll say the Sega Saturn, and realistically, yes, the Sega Saturn probably is on that list, but I'm not going to say that just to not give you Saturnians this fucking satisfaction. I'm going to say I didn't play it at all when it came out. I've played it a little bit since. I'm going to go with the Dreamcast because I didn't have a Dreamcast when it launched. I didn't get around to getting one until after the console was dead and buried. And I still haven't played a lot of Dreamcast, and I would like to spend more time with it. So I'm gonna say the Dreamcast. I still to this day think that is one of the most underrated consoles of all time, and I haven't played a lot of it. So we'll go with the Dreamcast. Honorable mention to the Sega CD. Not the Sega Saturn. Rush's Dog Walker wrote in and said, have you ever been flaming homered? Like, have you ever heard someone using one of your stand-up jokes and getting more laughs than you get with it? If so, how did you handle it? I actually have never. That's a big problem in stand-up. It's stealing jokes. Truth be told, if someone's ever stolen one of my jokes, I've never seen it. And to be honest with you, I can't even get laughs with my jokes. So if somebody can steal one of my jokes and find a way to get laughs with it, fucking mazel tov. Good for them. Somebody made it work. Thanks, Rush's Dog Walker. Oh, my jokes suck. Frost Eye wrote in and said, "Hey, Adam, now that you have a Steam Deck, are you going to look into more PC games? I have a look at Sea of Stars. It comes from the same people as The Messenger, and it looks very much like Chrono Trigger. It's not out yet, but their website says it should hit stores by spring of 2022. Yes, 2022. Yeah, I know it's quite delayed. I do know of Sea of Stars. I do think it looks pretty rad. I'm not the world's biggest Chrono Trigger fan, as I've notoriously said on the show and gotten shit. I don't think it's bad. It's just not my favorite game. But I'm a huge fan of The Messenger, so I'm definitely interested in Sea of Stars. As far as looking into more PC games, we actually got a couple of questions about the Steam Deck, so I'm going to spend a little time on the old Steamer this week. I do love my Steam Deck. I haven't been using it a ton just because I've been tied up with console games right now, but I am a pretty big fan of it. As far as playing more PC games, I'm not going to say yes, but I'm not going to say no. Truth be told, I don't think there's a lot available on PC exclusively that I'm that interested in. Like, I'll definitely be playing more games on my Steam Deck. There's certain games coming out where, like, I'll probably buy them on my Steam Deck over one of my consoles because I'd rather have it portable. But as far as PC exclusive games, just off the top of my head, I can't really think of any that I feel the urge to play right now. So I do think I'll play games on my Steam Deck that I would have bought on console otherwise, but I don't know how many PC-specific games I'll get into, if that makes sense and kind of lets me tiptoe around being a PC master racer. I'm PC curious. That's where I am. Thank you for writing in, Frost Eye. Impressive Beans said, "Dear Adam Blank Esquire, it's National Consumerism season here in the USA. It's tax season, and with a refund on the way sooner than later, I'd like to pay off some outstanding debts and treat myself to a little something as well. Sometimes you gotta spoil yourself." Shout out to anyone who gets that reference. "I really wanted a portable system I can use in my downtime at work, on weekends, or in general, and there's so many good choices. I'm torn between a Steam Deck, a Switch Lite, I already have a Switch, a Game Boy Advance, or the recently discovered handheld by Analog that plays Game Boy Color, and Advance games. I know this is a little long, but my question is, any recommendations either based off personal desire or experience for me to spend some of my sweet refund on? Cheers, and keep kicking ass." I have never kicked an ass in my life, Impressive Beans. So out of your options, you said a Switch Lite, you already have a Switch. I would not recommend getting a Switch Lite if you already have a Switch. If anything, I'd recommend looking at a Switch OLED. But I wouldn't, I like, the Switch Lite is a neat little machine, but if you've already got a Switch, I wouldn't. Of all the options, I put that one in last. I haven't used the handheld by Analog that plays the Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance games, but apparently it is quite rad. So I definitely, the only problem with that is then you're buying the cartridges, and some of those aren't cheap. GBA itself is awesome, but again, some of those cartridges aren't cheap. If you're on the fence on a Steam Deck, I do want to do a full-blown review of my Steam Deck eventually. I know people have been asking me if I'm going to review it. I will. I'm just got a busy couple months on Expansion Pass, but eventually I'm going to give you a non-PC gamer's review of a Steam Deck. But I got to tell you, I've had mine for a couple of months now, and I am floored at what a quality piece of hardware it is. It is outstanding. I'm telling you, y'all know I'm a Switch boy. I love my Nintendo Switch. I have a hard time going back to my Switch after using my Steam Deck because it just feels so much bigger and stronger and more powerful. It's so much more comfortable to hold. There's so many games on it, and they all run so well. I'm playing Red Dead Redemption 2 on my Steam Deck, which I obviously can't do on my Switch. So of those 4 things you recommended, assuming that the high price point of the Steam Deck isn't a deal breaker for you, I have been nothing but impressed by my time with the Steamer so far. So I'll throw a vote behind the Steam Deck. It is a quality piece of hardware. Plus, it's very, I know you can emulate on it. I haven't done that. I'm not really interested in doing that. But I have set up Xbox Cloud Gaming on it. So as a Game Pass Ultimate subscriber, I can play Xbox on it too. And it works flawlessly. It is just a really spectacular piece of machinery. So that's my pick, Impressive Beans, Steam Deck. That's my pick. And then one more Steamer point, and then we'll move on to some other stuff here. Todd Usher wrote in and said, "Hey, Adam, first time blowing in the cartridge here. I have a question for you. I have an Xbox, a PS5, and the Steamer. I love my Steamer. However, I don't like paying for a game on 2 platforms. Generally, if a game is good, I'll grab it on sale on the Steamer if I already have it. But I'm torn when it comes to new releases. I don't have a dock for the Steamer yet, but I'm going to add one so I can play on my big TV too. How do you approach it? Would you pay a little more for a license on both a console and a Steam key?" So as of now, the only games I bought on my Steam Deck are Red Dead Redemption 2, 20XX, And then I've got Xbox Cloud Gaming. I have XCOM 2 that I'd already bought that I need to get around to playing. And a couple other games that I've already bought, like Half-Life and stuff that I need to get around to, that I've already played or whatever. But I will say, moving forward, usually when it comes for me to deciding what console I'm going to buy a game on, if it's on multiple things, if it's in the past, if it was on Switch and it ran well, I would buy it on Switch just because I prefer the portability. So moving forward, if a game releases that I'm interested in and it's available on PS5, Xbox Series, everything, and the Steam Deck, and I'm looking at the same price on all of them and the Steam Deck version is reviewing well, because that is something to keep in mind with the Steamer. Not every game that runs on Steam runs optimally on the Steam Deck. Just because it runs on Steam and on PC, not every game makes a silky smooth transition over to the Steam Deck. Assuming that it runs well on the Steam Deck, I think that'll be where I buy some games. Marvel Midnight Suns I'm playing right now, and I love it. I bought it on Xbox. The reviews on Steam Deck where it was a little hit and miss, and people on the internet were saying maybe stay away from it on Steam Deck for now. So I bought it on Xbox. Had it reviewed well on Steam Deck, that's where I would have bought it. So, it's pretty rare that I'll buy a game on multiple consoles unless I can get it dirt cheap and it's got cross progression, like cross save progression. But general rule of thumb now, yeah, like to be honest, if I'm never going to get a dock, I don't think, for my Steam Deck. I'm happy just playing it handheld. So if it's something like Dead Space Remake where I want to see it as big and fancy as possible, I'm going to buy it on console. But if everything's equal and I have to make the decision, I'm probably going to buy it on Steam Deck. I'd rather have it portably. I'd rather be able to play it anywhere I want. I hope that answers your question. And kind of puts a stamp on the Steam Deck talk this week. I'm just really fucking impressed with this thing. And if I would buy a game on Switch over buying it on Xbox or PlayStation for portability, I will fucking certainly buy it on the Steam Deck over on my Xbox or Switch for or my Xbox or PlayStation for portability. No fucking question. Doesn't mean I'm getting away from console gaming. I just love that portability factor, which the Steam Deck gives me. So I hope that answers you, Todd. Keith Rolla, we're going to finish this section up here. Keith Rolla said, "Hi, Adam. I just made my way through your backlog and thought I should start throwing a few bucks your way for all the hours of entertainment you provided at work and on my commute. My wife and I are close to closing on our first house next week, and it has the added benefit of an extra room that my wife says I can use to set up all my gaming systems. Do you have any tips or suggestions on gaming room setups? How do you keep your wires under control without making a giant wire monster? Thank you, and keep up the good work." Well, thank you, Keith Rolla. Congratulations on closing on your first house. That's exciting as fuck. As far as the cord, listen, my cable management is not good. There's a reason when I post pictures of my office, you can't see behind my desk, under my desk, or by my bookshelf, because it is pretty hideous. The one thing I do is the one thing I try to do is with my power cords, I make them as short as possible, and then I buy a roll of I'm playing with one as I record this right here. Listen. I bought a roll of the Velcro, the big long Velcro straps, and then I just cut off little chunks. And once I plug stuff in, I bundle up the rest of the cable and then Velcro tie it, and then put a piece of tape on the Velcro and write what console that power cable is for. So at least it keeps my power cables tight. So that excuse me, that would be my one suggestion. And then my other suggestion is to buy a Switch, not a Nintendo Switch, but like an HDMI switch. That's what I have for all my consoles. They all go into that, which is easy to kind of keep it in one place. Instead of having all my cables running over to my monitor, they all just go into my Switch, like my docking switch, and then I just tell the Switch which system to put on the TV. So look at those. Those are my two pro tips: is label and wrap up your power cables, and get a Switch that you can put in one place, and then you only have one cable running to your TV, and everything else you can hide behind your entertainment stand or whatever and have it go into your HDMI switch. Those are my two tips. And get a good power bar. I have a good power bar here with like a surge protector and all that kind of crap, and I recommend that as well. Other than that, though, you do not want my advice on cable management, because my setup would make some people lose their fucking minds. So good luck, Keith. I'm jealous. Everybody should have a gaming room. That's good stuff. And finally, we got to move on here. It's letter time. And I bent my Wookie. Wrote in and said, "Hey, Blank Man, just following up on the expansion pass topic of the SNES versus the PS1. How different do you think the gaming landscape today would be if Nintendo and Sony had joined forces? Does Microsoft take a run at them with the Xbox, or do Nintendo and Sony rule the gaming world alone?" I made this the letter time letter because it's one of my favorite hypothetical gaming discussions of all time. And if you don't know, very quickly, the original PlayStation was going to be an add-on for the SNES. And it was like 90% done. And then at the last minute, Nintendo pulled the rug out from underneath Sony and decided to partner with Philips and then not end up doing it at all. And Sony already had this fucking piece of hardware basically done and said, well, fuck them, then we'll release it. And as you all know, the PlayStation started to dominate and Sony has been on top ever since. Whether you like Sony or dislike them, PlayStation has been on top of gaming ever since they launched that PlayStation. They're just they're the heavyweights. And so I always joke that PlayStation is Nintendo's Venom. Nintendo was Spider-Man. They got rid of the CD drive for the Super Nintendo, which was the symbiote. And then Sony's Eddie Brock picked it up and decided to become their own worst enemy. So how would gaming look if those two had teamed up? I think, this is just my opinion, I still think Xbox would be around. They would have needed competition. They couldn't just run away because... Like, I think there's too much money in gaming for somebody to not step up and try to take a piece of that pie. But I think it would be, my God, can you imagine if Sony and Nintendo had one shared library? Like, imagine if you had like the Vita and the Vita Switch and the PS5 with all the Marios and Zeldas and Mario Karts and Pokemons. Fuck, like, I don't know how you'd stop them. I think Xbox would probably still be around because Microsoft just sees money there and they like money. And unpopular opinion, perhaps, I think Sega would still be around. Because if you remember that generation, you had the GameCube, the Dreamcast, the Xbox, and the PS2. So if the GameCube doesn't exist, or the PS2 doesn't, like the PS2 and the GameCube are combined, I mean, who knows if the PS2 would have had the DVD player and everything in it? Because Nintendo was probably calling the shots. Had they, kept this alliance and Nintendo makes weird decisions and probably wouldn't put a DVD player in it. But if the DVD player doesn't exist and the PS2 doesn't run away like it does because it's actually just an add-on to whatever Nintendo's new system is, then the Dreamcast probably doesn't get its ass kicked as hard as it does. Sega maybe is still around. Xbox comes in anyway. So I think... if Nintendo and Sony had not split up and had stayed together, they would be dominating the market right now, hardcore. And then Xbox would still be doing what they're doing, and Sega would be around as the third. That's my opinion, and you're welcome to disagree. But I think that's where gaming would be today. And you know what? Quite frankly, as someone that likes PlayStation and Nintendo, I'm glad they didn't form this alliance because we would have lost out on so much innovation. I think PlayStation has changed the way gaming works forever. I think Nintendo's been forced to reinvent themselves 100 times to try to stay relevant, sometimes to better success, sometimes to less success. And they've pushed Xbox to step up, which has given us Game Pass. The only thing that I wish I could change about the way everything's shaken out is I wish Sega was still around. And there's just no way 4 consoles are going to work. But if Nintendo and Sony were collectively putting out one console, then the three-headed monster we have now, I think, would still exist, but it'd be Nintendo, Sony, Xbox, and Sega. So that's how I think things would change. I could do a whole episode about this. I think it is the most fascinating. I think it is the single biggest what if in gaming history. But we got to move on. You guys are here for Dick Tracy talk. I still have other segments to get through. So thank you so much for everybody that wrote in as always. Let's change things up and get into our Smash Hit segment, the official game show of Remember the Game Industries. It is Play 1, Remake 1, Erase 1. And a huge thank you to Classic Concentration from the NES for unknowingly providing us with the theme music for the show. The rules are simple. Every week I give our listeners 3 retro video games. They can play one as it was released, remake one as a modern game, and the third is erased in time forever. As always, there are no wrong answers. There is a right one. We'll get there in just a minute. And this week I went with 3 stupid NES movie games. We have Back to the Future, Jaws, and Friday the 13th. And 32% said they would play Friday the 13th, remake Back to the Future, and erase Jaws, which I actually have to agree with. But let me see what a few of you had to say here, and then I'll explain why that is the right answer. Blue Yoshi wrote in and said, I'll go with play Friday the 13th since I never have. I'll remake Back to the Future because that could have been insanely deep and insane in general. And I'll delete Jaws because they already have Maneater, so we wouldn't be losing much. You know what I like about your answer, Blue Yoshi, is that you, no fat. You don't write in very often, but when you do write in, it's precise and to the point, and I respect that. And your logic is sound. Good job. Good start. Good start this week. I like it. Soggy Unagi, I love that name, said play Friday the 13th because I'd like to get some arts and crafts pointers, remake Jaws because a shark chasing me is enough to make me shit myself, and then erase Back to the Future because if time travel is ever invented, I'd just use that to go back and change my answer. I can't decide if that's clever or nonsensical. Erase Back to the Future, because if time travel is ever invented, I'd just use that to go back and change my answer. But why? I'll give you a B-, Soggy Unagi. I can't figure out if that's clever or it doesn't make any sense. I respect it, though. I respect thinking outside of the box. Plus, I hope time travel is invented someday. Blaine the Hoagie Man said, as someone who hasn't played any of these, I'll play Back to the Future because even if I don't like it, I'll be just fine playing it. Wait till you fucking play it, Blaine. I'll remake Jaws because hunting and being hunted by a giant shark would be awesome in 4K. And I'll erase Friday the 13th. I'm not really a horror movie fan, so I'm good with this being erased. I sound logic, but I will tell you, you said even if you don't like Back to the Future, you'll be fine playing it. I assure you, you probably won't. That game is just awful. I'm a stupid moron with an ugly face and a big butt, and my butt smells, and I like to kiss my own butt. I like that we have 2 of them in this community. Maybe that's what we should just call the show. And I'm not dunking on either of you with that username. I like that username a lot. But they wrote in and said, I've never played any of these as a kid, so I watched videos of each and made my choices from that. I'll play Friday the 13th. It looks like the only one that could be remotely fun in its current state. I'll remake Jaws, clean up the gameplay. It looks like so much of it is just filler and it's a lot of repetitive fish shooting. And erase Back to the Future. Reminds me way too much of Paperboy and nothing but item gathering as you walk up the street. No wonder so many people say, fuck this game. That game is terrible and it deserves a lot better. I actually like Jaws. A lot of people hate that game. I don't think Jaws is that bad. Well, it is bad, but it's one of my guilty pleasure games. What can I say? And then Wild Card wrote in and said, I don't know anything about these games, so I made my wife pick, who also doesn't know anything about these games, but is overall a very more smarter person than I am. I love that. Erase Back to the Future because it would be boring because what would you do in that game? I'd play Friday the 13th because you have the horror aspect of the game and horror is the best. And I'd remake Jaws because it was the last option and we play by the rules here. Now, not only did you get red because I like the fact that you play by the rules, Wild Card, but I like that your name is Wild Card and you just let your wife pick for you. I hope that's why you're called Wild Card, because in every aspect of life, you just let her make the choice. Good answers this week. I like it. I am reluctantly agreeing with the majority this week, as did Quintuple Secret Probation Silver, who wrote in and said that's an easy one. Remake Back to the Future. A perfect film franchise deserves a perfect game. Play Friday the 13th. Realize that game sucks so much. Blow the cartridge into the fire, or throw the cartridge into the fire and melt that sucker away. Then give myself homemade electroshock therapy and forget that horrible game and fry my brain too much because I'm not a doctor with a fancy diploma. But at least my last 2 functional brain cells are proud that I followed the rules of that game. Oh, and I guess erase Jaws. Sound logic, Quintuple Secret Probation. I myself am going to play Friday the 13th because of these 3 games, it's the only one I haven't played. And I don't like to erase games I haven't tried. I'm going to remake Back to the Future because that game fucking sucks. And you're right. I love those movies and that franchise deserves better. Fuck, I hate that game. And I'm going to erase Jaws because while I like it, I want to play the one I haven't played and I want to remake the one that needs it more. Jaws is fine. It's a good 20-minute time killer. But Back to the Future deserves a good game, and I got to try Friday the 13th. So I'll unfortunately erase Jaws. Plus, I'm terrified of sharks. All right, that's it, everybody. We got to move on. We got to get into what I've been playing, and I'm going to get to all that in just a minute. That and Dick Tracy, pardon me. I'm tired. We're going to get to all that in just a minute because I got to stop for possibly a quick word from one of our precious, precious sponsors. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Everyone that listens to this podcast knows about our illustrious CEO, my dog Molly. But the other silent partner behind the scenes is my wife. And let me tell you, my friends, a 17-year relationship with another person that has to talk to and live with you is a lot harder to maintain than one with a dog. We've had our ups and downs, and as you all know, a relationship isn't all sunshine and rainbows. They can be a lot of work. You get out what you put in when it comes to relationships, and talking to a therapist can be a fantastic way to put in some work. They can help you work through your issues, learn to communicate better, and even just provide you with an ear to bend when you need it. I've talked to my therapist about my relationships, especially when it came to my stand-up comedy career and how much I was away from home, and they helped me work on ways to keep my relationships strong even when I was out on the road. It turned out our relationship was actually better when I was out on the road, but that's a story for another day. And I know, right? Therapy. Who has the time these days? BetterHelp hears you, and they're making it easy. Fill out a quick form online, and they'll match you up with a therapist that suits your needs, and that'll work around your schedule. You pick the meet times, and you can get your therapy fix from anywhere, over video, phone, or just chat. Become your own soulmate, whether you're looking for one or not. Visit betterhelp.com/rememberthegame today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/rememberthegame. Or maybe not. But if we had a sponsor, thank you so much for sponsoring this train wreck of a show. What have I been playing over the last week? I've been playing Doom 3. It's done. We're going to be reviewing that in about 3 weeks here on the show. Should be a lot of fun. I've been playing Dead Space Remake. It is superb, assuming you like Dead Space, which I do. And I'm still playing Marvel's Midnight Suns, and it's still fucking awesome. I still fucking love it. And I am starting Legend of Dragoon today. So we'll be reviewing that, I don't know, in like 2 months when I finally get that fucking game done. That's it. All right, let's talk Dick Tracy. That's why your kids are here. As always, I like to give our listeners a chance to sound off before my guests and I hog the spotlight. Johnny CCDC said, hands down, an underappreciated game from the NES library. Sure, it's wonky. It has lots of things that aren't implemented correctly, but the sleuthing and figuring out who done it is on point, and Dick Tracy is a game that I've come back to and played time and time again. I loved this game. I don't know if I would say it's underappreciated because I don't think it's that good, but I like it. So I do think it's clever, and I do think the sleuthing and figuring stuff out is on point. I like that. I think it's a good game. I just think, I don't know. I get why everybody else hates it. I understand why so many people hate it. Victor from Regina said, as a kid, I loved it. I'm sure it's aged terribly, though. In hindsight, it felt like the first attempt at what eventually turned into a GTA-style free-roaming game. Yeah, and my brother and I get into that. It totally has aspects of OG GTA, which is fucking... It's incredible, quite frankly. It also kind of reminds me of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which we're going to get into. The Big Deal said, I could have sworn I played this game growing up, and I wrote a whole long rant about it, but then I realized I had no clue about this game, and I was actually thinking of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. You'd swear that it was like a copy and paste of the driving scenes from these two games. It's exactly the same. Well, it's not, but it looks like it. James Juan Francesco said, all I can remember about this game is getting very angry the weekend that I rented it. Yep, it's fucking impossible to figure out when you're a kid. I get that. Adam Blank still hasn't reviewed Banjo-Tooie. Said, my favorite part of Dick Tracy is when Dick Tracy looked at his partner, Cock Drawy, and said, it's Dick Tracing time, and traced all over the bad guy's dicks or something. I've never seen Dick Tracy, so I'm like 92% sure that's fake, but the other 8% of me is like, now I got to see this fucking movie. Because I don't know. And Chris Copland is going to wrap it all up and said, you could have played the Sega one. I'm just saying. Well, you know what, Chris? I couldn't because I didn't even know there was a fucking Sega one. So, and I feel like it's just going to turn into the Aladdin thing where everyone's going to argue about which one's better. I didn't know there was a Sega Dick Tracy. Is it the same as this? I'll have to look into it later. We're talking the NES one right now. That's why we're fucking here. So I'm gonna start talking to my boy Hagel Waffle about why he wanted to sponsor this episode so much. And then my brother Josh and I are gonna talk about why this game is good and bad at the same fucking time. And we can't do that until I cue up the music I'm gonna do right now. And when it stops, Hagel Waffle, my brother Josh, and I are going to talk Dick Tracy for the NES, which originally released in North America in August of 1990. And no, I still can't fucking beat it. Enjoy the podcast, everybody. Let's go. All right, so as I'm sure I've said during the infamous intro, and all you guys know how it works by now, this is one of our, I gotta come up with a term for it yet. Like prestigious doesn't work because that starts with an S, whatever. This is one of our sought after sponsored episodes. That's not bad. And joining me via the, I guess it's not the blank phone, it's the blank Zoom this week, is a longtime supporter of the show and very patient supporter of the show because you picked this game like a fucking year ago and I've just been slow as shit. And that is Hagel Waffle. How's it going, buddy?
Hey, it's good, man. I don't think anybody's sought after this game, but yeah, I'm sure you'll think of something for the sponsored episodes.
Oh yeah, we'll get it, dude. It's funny that you picked this game because, like, I rented this a couple of times as a kid and played it, and I couldn't figure it out. Which is what most of the people that have seen that we're going to talk about this game, they're like, I played that. And they're like, I don't know how to fucking play it, but I played that. But my younger brother, who's going to be the guest on this episode, like, is a fucking prodigy at this game. It's so he knows every enemy, every it's so fucked up how well he knows this game. And I'm excited to talk about it because I wanted to give this game an episode of the show, but I was like, I've never gotten past the first level until this past week when I finally started to get good. So I'll ask you, Hego Waffle, what, why Dick of all the game, and I'm not judging, but of all the games, why Dick Tracy?
Yeah, I think it starts with I got to tell you where my gaming kind of history is here to just give you the context.
Yeah.
And so growing up, at my mom's I had an NES. At my dad's house, I had a Super Nintendo, but for whatever reason, I never took the Super Nintendo back and forth. And then eventually at my mom's, I got a Dreamcast. So from like NES to Dreamcast, I just had the NES.
Jesus,
and
that's
I
a
had
jump.
I had 6 games.
Okay.
I had Mario Duck Hunt, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, which, all right, cream of the crop. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
And then I had Jeopardy, not the kids Jeopardy, adult Jeopardy, which not good for a 7-year-old who doesn't know how to spell.
I would just like to say, as a 39-year-old man, I don't want to play that. I think I've answered 5 Jeopardy questions in my life, and they're all sports questions. So sorry, continue. That's a terrible game for a kid. Yeah.
Not good. I had one of those Quattro Adventures, which, yes, is technically 4 games, but they all are awful.
Is that the one with the gold cartridge with like Dizzy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Dizzy.
I remember that. Yeah, those games fucking suck. Sorry. Yeah, they suck.
That's Linus Spacehead, Super Robin Hood, and Boomerang Kid.
Yes.
Yeah, that nonstop.
Yeah.
Then I had Mario's Missing.
Oh, Christ.
Classic. And Dick Tracy.
Wow.
And so once you beat Mario and Ninja Turtles, those have like, you come back to them every couple months, but in between there, what do you play? And it was Dick Tracy. Because I'm not very good at games. Like, I'm not quick. I'm not like great at tactically moving.
Yeah.
But, I can memorize like crazy. And that's all this game was just memorizing what to do, when, where to go, where things were. And if you just ran through it enough, you could get good.
Well, okay, thank you. Because so I've been playing it on streams and stuff for the last couple of weeks to get ready for this episode. And as a kid, I never understood, I would just drive around in the fucking cop car and go into levels and die. And then that would be it. When I sat down and started replaying it, I was like, oh, this makes sense. It gives you, it tells you, go to 5th and B, and then you find a clue. And then it's fairly easy to figure out. As a kid, it'd be hard, but now I'm like, oh, I know what I'm supposed to do now. To me, the thing, and you nailed it, is you go into these the side scrolling parts, and there's just people around every shooting, and the second they fucking come into the screen, they shoot you. And the only way to know is to just play it over and over again until you fucking know where they are. That has to be all it is.
It is. And I want to go out there and say, I am under no delusion. I know this game is rough. But it's, I think I sent it to you, man. This is my Bart versus the Space Mutants.
Yeah.
I know it's not a great game, but it's, it's my childhood game. And so I'm glad you got a chance to try it. I mean, actually, I was watching the streams of you do it, and I know you didn't technically save state on the passwords.
Yeah.
But to make matters worse, if you actually used the password option, those snipers come back.
That's such a
every
joke.
Single time.
Fucking such a joke. And it's and the one to me, okay, so I want to say, I'm going to get more into it. I try to let you have because my brother and I are going to hog the microphone here in a little bit, but by and large, I think this game is very, I think it's got a lot of, there's some creative ideas here. It's not just a boring side scroller. I'll give it that. It's just so fucking hard. It's just so hard. One life, start from scratch. Fuck, and I get that's what NES, because the game's probably I'm assuming you've beaten it. Yeah, okay. What is it, an hour long probably?
I think if you're good, an hour. If you go like me, where at parts you crawl through that hour and a half, hour 45.
Right. So if you don't make it super hard in one life and you have to start from scratch, then a kid like you fucking has this game to beat, and you beat it in a day, and you're like, well, that sucks. It has to give you some replay, but Jesus Christ. So wait, because you and I are approximately the same age. You were playing this back in the day without the internet. You couldn't Google walkthroughs and shit like that.
No, I mean, when kids like you who had good games were drawing Link and Zelda maps, I had this Dick Tracy thing in a notebook drawn out. All right, sniper here, 3 snipers here, watch out there. That's what I had to do. And so, My grid system was locked down.
I just imagine you like go to school as a, and like most of the kids on the school bus are like, man, did you find the warp whistle in Mario 3? And you're like, I caught Scarface and Dick Tracy, or I don't know any of their fucking names. I've never seen the movie, but and everyone's like, what the fuck? Why are you playing Dick Tracy? It's like, that's the game I fucking have. So that's what I wanted to say. You beat this as a kid. Like you didn't, excuse me, you didn't have to wait to be an adult to have the internet to help you. Like you just got good.
Yeah, I would sneak, I remember that graph paper that like, it was like tan and it had the lines. I'd sneak that home and that's how I draw my stuff out. It gets to a point where I got stuck for a long time because they start, I think it's like the fourth case, they start being a little loose with the clues. Like it'd say, rescued congressman remembers hearing foghorn. As a kid, I'm like, what the hell does that mean? I don't know where's a foghorn? It doesn't give you an address. You just got to go to the pier because that's where a foghorn would be because of the boats or whatever. But so it gets a little tricky, but once you kind of get through, the nice thing that I'd say about it is if you go to the wrong spot, there's no one there, right? They could load those levels with people and then have you like get all the way through and just be absolutely screwed. But at least if you go to the wrong spot, you can pop out and be like, all right, I know no one's in that. Let's try the next one.
Okay. And I was going to ask that because like, I don't think I ever went to the wrong spot. So every time I went to a level, it was enemies everywhere. And you were saying that and I was like, dude, I would have lost my fucking mind if all I had to do was go down by the water and start going in every fucking level until I found one that had like, so if you go into the wrong one, it's just, you just leave.
You just go in, it says door, you just go back out.
Okay. All right. That's actually good. That's a good idea. All right.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the good things they did. I mean, there's some good ideas and there's some good ideas if they would have comboed it with the other, like, Master System and the Game Boy, like you could have made one like Frankenstein decent game out of it.
Yeah.
But, as a kid, the only way I could get really far is I think as you call it, I cheesed it a bit.
Yeah.
So like the very first level you go to, if you get the pattern down, you can jump over every guy. You can run all the way to the end, start it over, and you can load up on your Tommy gun. You can get 50 of those ridiculous super punches that bounce everyone over the screen.
Yeah.
And then you're just set for like the next two cases. Everyone you punch just goes, spinning like they're
right. I see. Oh, that's smart. But you know what? That's what we had to do back in the day. That was part of beating these games, was finding a way to fucking cheese them a little bit. They were like, it was just too hard not to otherwise. Okay. So then I'll ask you then, like the floor is yours. Like I get why you picked this game because every kid had an NES game that they had to play over and over because that was what they had. But so the floor is yours. Is there any like what maybe you've already covered everything you like, but like what else do you like and hate about this game? Because I have some shit I love, and I have some shit like I don't think Angry Adam's gonna come out, but fucking Perturbed Adam is gonna fucking pop up. So by all means, the floor is yours. What do you love and hate about this fucking game?
Yeah, so I'll go with love. Starting with that. I mean, so at first the music's great.
It is.
That turns into a hate, right? You close your eyes, it just plays in your head.
Yes, it does.
Just ongoing. But I think there's some good things, right? I liked as once I got to like 9 and I was kind of like understanding the world, like there's the blonde breathless Mahoney that hits on you the whole time. Which is kind of like, all right, there we go. Right? Like
she says some bad things. Like things that like as a kid, I was like, she like says something about like what she'd do with her lips or something. And I was like, oh, she wants to kiss me. And now like as an adult, I'm like, oh. But Zookeeper, those monkeys are killing each other. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
So and then this was one of those games where like when I'm playing it in the top down, like I know it looks like GTA 1 where you're just running and shooting, but like in my head, like I'm ducking behind the car. I'm like using my imagination to really kind of put yourself in that shoe. So it felt more like an action game, and it felt like it felt cool because Dick Tracy was a big deal in the 90s. I mean, they had, the movie came out and it had, Pacino, it had Warren Beatty, it had Charlie Corsmo, which was like one of the best kid actors who I know none of these people are probably ringing true with you. You haven't seen it.
Yeah, I've never seen it, but I know, but I get it though. I
Yeah.
everybody knew Dick Tracy. Agreed.
Yeah,
I knew. Yeah, yeah.
The walkie-talkie watch. McDonald's games. I think as a kid I had the like shaving kit where it was just like little plastic razors and like foam. But everything was Dick Tracy. And so when I got this game, it's just like every time I went in to punch someone, I was imagining the fight with like Steve the Tramp in the movie where he's like beating him up to save the kid. And so for me, like it just hit the right imagination key of like, this is awesome.
Sure.
But then there's a lot of stuff that suck about it. You mentioned in one of your playthroughs, that blue car. When you get in the car chase, like you're screwed. You're going to get hit.
Thank you. I'm like, if there's a way to avoid getting hit by this thing,
no,
I don't like. To me, the only strategy is you just mass shoot as fast as possible and try to take it out before it hits you 2 or 3 times.
Yeah,
I don't know how else.
Then not go too far because then they'll spin and keep hitting you.
Fuck.
Which is absurd.
Ridiculous.
The yellow car, which I don't know why NES hates yellow cars. Maybe somebody like the RC Pro Am, like another yellow car is a pain in the ass. The other thing that I didn't like is the controls suck. Like it's hard if you don't land right on one of those pier like poles, you're going in the water.
Yeah.
If you get to a point where you forgot where you're supposed to go, and it's one of those like, I don't know, I just pick up crates at second and F. And then you you leave and you've got to go to like dinner, or you you cover the light so they don't know. And then you come back and you're like, oh crap, what did he say?
Yeah.
Stuff goes into the notepad.
It's so, I'm like, why do you have the notepad? Like the notepad concept is excellent. If you're stuck, go back to the police station, look at your notes. Why the fuck doesn't he write everything down? I thought he's supposed to be like the world's greatest detective. You're right. And like, it happened to me on stream where I was like, fuck, I don't remember what it said. And because I'm talking to the chat or something. And now I'm like, I don't know where the fuck I'm supposed to go. Fuck you, Dick Tracy. Fucking illiterate piece of shit. Sorry.
The last ones I'll say, right? We all know it's hard. Safes, dude. Those safes suck. I know you got knocked out on the closed window one.
Yeah.
Dude, the next level, there's a part where you're just walking and they just fall. There's nothing there. They just drop from the sky.
Yeah, like if you've never played it, it's not like your save. It's like a safe, like a big heavy lock combination safe. And like they start falling out of windows, and then apparently they start falling out fucking anywhere. And like they don't trigger until you're under where they'll hit you, and they fall so fast. And it's just a joke. Fuck you.
It's a mess.
So cheap.
And then before we get into the controls, I know you got something to say about the select and the weapon movements. I actually had a thought, and I'll share it in a second. But the last thing that really cheesed me about this game is when you get to Big Boy, the last guy, you've got like one little badge left. You finally make it to the end guy. You're going to arrest him. And all this time, right? You walk up to the bad guys, you punch him, and you get into the dialogue.
Yeah.
He shoots you. This guy shoots, so I'm coming up, and I'm like, all right, I got him, and bang, bang, dead. And you gotta start going down.
I would have rage quit so fucking hard.
It's the only guy that does that. The last guy, he'll pull out and he'll shoot.
That's so cheap.
The Tommy gun's useless. I never shot more than one bullet at a time.
Same.
Because it didn't matter if you weren't aimed at them anyways. It's not like they moved into your sight line. And then I thought of an idea. As you were talking about the select B thing. So the change weapons, you hit select.
Yeah.
And then you got to hit select B for the first aid. It's
literally, and just quickly, literally every other item in the game, you go through your inventory with select, and then you hit B to use whatever's equipped. The first aid kit, you need to hold select and push B, but nothing else. Everything else just works. And it's so infuriating. I'm sorry. I'll rant about it more. That's where fucking perturbed Adam is going to pop up, is those fucking controls. What were you going to say? Sorry.
Here's what I wonder. How many times, because I was spying on the stream, those tear gas.
Yeah.
Because you thought you were back at like this, and you're like, boom. I wonder if they did that so you don't burn your first aid.
Maybe.
Because it's so you need it. Now I think you should be able to punch when you have the first aid up, and why not just leave that option? But
that's all I want is, yeah, like you fucking scroll through your inventory, you have the first aid kit selected by accident. Yeah. And then like enemies are coming up and just teeing off on me. And Dick Tracy's just standing there with his dick in his hand because it's like, oh, I'm on first aid kit, so B doesn't do anything. And it's like, if I have to hold select to use the first aid kit, let me just punch if I push B. That's all. Just that. If I could change anything about this game, that's the one thing. It fucking made me so mad. Fuck. I mean, like, I understand that in the NES they had limited controls. They had 4 buttons. Like, there's only so much you could fucking do. And you're probably right. It saves you from burning first aid kits. But you know what? It saves you from burning first aid kits, but then I get punched in the teeth 3 times without using it, and then I have to use it anyways. It doesn't make a fucking difference. Fucking stupid game. Fuck you.
The last thing, I don't think you got into this in the stream, and I wanted to at least bring it up. I don't know if it popped up or not, but as you play this game, if you literally grind it, at a lot of those windows, you can go up to a blank empty window, punch it, and like something will show up. So there's a lot of hidden things along these levels that as you learn them, you can find like, God, there's no first aid kits in the last 2. It's because you got to punch like this random plant, and then it like a heart pops up. So it's like a lot of it's just trial and error and getting used to that. Right. And that just makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah.
As we go through to find some of those hidden things.
And I won't dunk on it for that, because that was just part of the NES. It's still frustrating, but it's no different than like when you're playing Castlevania, like, oh, there's meat hidden in the wall. You just have to whip the right brick to fucking, like, hidden blocks in Mario. Like, I get it. It's just.
Or a whole level here, a whole half a game hidden somewhere. I mean, do not. You're going to get the Symphony of the Night fucking nerds wound up again, and I don't want to fight things
with that.
Things happen.
Yet. Fucking interesting game. I have a lot to say about this. I can't believe I have as much to say about a game that's only an hour long as and I don't know the movie. I don't know any of the fucking source material. I just know he's a detective with a yellow coat. But dude, I'm telling you, I know you were like, I'm worried no one's played this. A lot of people have fucking played this. I don't know if anyone's beaten it other than you, but a lot of people have played this fucking game. I think it's because Dick Tracy was everywhere, like you said.
He was, yeah. And I was worried when I suggested it, because I'm like, dude, there's not a lot here. No, I mean, there's very little. What's become the catchphrase around here is, if we were able to do a podcast about Duck Hunt, we can do then it's like there's enough meat on the bone in other games if we could do Duck Hunt. I wanted to ask you for a scale, because I like to give the guests a chance to come up with a scale, and you said you have 3. I got 3 options that I throw out, let you pick.
All right.
Here are the 3. They're all a little bit apart. There are 15 villains that show up, because some repeat case over case. So you do 15 villains. Throughout the whole game, there's 25 clues. Or Breathless Mahoney, the blonde gal, tries to seduce you in 37 words.
Are you kidding me?
I counted them. There's 37 words. She says the whole game, and all of them are trying to seduce you. So
well, that's the one. 15, it has to be. It has to be out of 37 words. What's her name? Breathless
Mahoney.
Breathless Mahoney. All right. Well, Breathless has got I love that. Oh my God. I can't believe you counted them. That might be the best scale in the history of Remember the Game. All right. So I can't believe I'm saying these words. Hang a waffle out of 37 Breathless Mahoney words. How many words would you rate Dick Tracy on the NES? What a great scale.
So I know you've got the Mario tax.
Yes.
I got to give it, I don't have a better thing. The Hang a Waffle credit, because I didn't own many great games, and this one let me play it. So I'm going to give it a little bump. So I would start it at about like half. I'm going to give it 22 words. All right. 22 out of 37.
That should be enough to get in Dick Tracy's pants. 22 of the 37 seductive words.
I mean, Madonna in the movie, maybe.
Was Madonna in the movie? Really? I've never seen that movie. Yeah. I might have to watch that movie now. I love Madonna. Wow. All right. Now I'm interested. I wasn't interested, but now I am. I'm a Madonna.
I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to spoil it.
No. Tell me she has more than 37 words in the movie, though.
She does, and she plays more than one character.
Oh, my God. All right, I got to see this movie. I hope she's Dick Tracy. I hope that's the twist, that she is Dick Tracy. All right, 22 seductive words out of 37. I love it. We are going to end this in a second. I'm going to queue up the same fucking 2 songs that only play in Dick Tracy. And then my brother and I are going to rant about this a lot more. But let me just say, bro, thank you so much for your generosity, for your support, for your fucking patience, because it took forever. And thank you for bringing me back to this game because this is a forgotten chapter of my childhood, and I like this game a lot more than I did a month ago. Like now that I started playing it, I'm like, there's a decent game here. This is not the worst NES game. So thank you, my friend. I appreciate you.
Hey, thank you for the opportunity, man. Like I said, it's a very it's fun to talk to you. It's fun to engage with the group. I'm glad I'm seeing some really funny comments just already on the Patreon that I'm just laughing out loud. So I'm glad people remember this, and have fun. And I'm looking forward to listening.
Fuck yeah, buddy. Okay, so let me just say, obviously, y'all know we're talking Dick Tracy. My guest this week, as I've probably said a couple times, is my brother Josh, and I'll get to the introduction and all that in just a second. Let me just say, for all of you that don't, I guess it's literally all of you that have never seen how this records behind the scenes, this is like our 8th fucking attempt at this because I keep fucking up the audio and fucking up everything. God, I suck at this job. You'd think 234 podcasts, I'd fucking be good at this, but nope. Not yet. So, for like the 5th fucking time, joining me this week by the blank phone to talk Dick Tracy is someone I used to play this game with as a kid, and that is my brother Josh. For the love of Christ, tell me I can hear you. Josh, how are you?
Oh, not too bad, Adam. How are you doing?
I'm frustrated as fuck, but I can hear you good enough. Let's talk Dick Tracy before I find a way to fuck this up somehow. Dude, this game, so, okay. Fuck, I don't want to say I hate this game because I don't hate this. I actually frankly think this game by like NES standards is a little bit ambitious. Like they tried to do some cool things with it, but this game fucking drives me crazy. So I want to get into this game with you because I know you're good at it and you could beat it and all that kind of stuff. I've never seen this movie. I've never seen anything Dick Tracy. So I don't know any of these characters aside from this game. So I'm just going to ask quick, do you know like the movies or the TV? I don't even know what all he's been in. Do you know anything about this guy?
A little bit. I remember there was an old cartoon show, but I only ever saw like 2 episodes. And when we were kids, we actually had those audiobook comic books. You know, you put the cassette in and you listen to it and it reads out everything from the comic books. So
yes.
There's like sound effects and everything.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my God. And we had a Dick Tracy book. I totally forgot about that.
We did, yeah. I had the cassette. I used to probably read it like every couple of months as a kid.
It's all you did now is all you've done is let out the, like, as I talk about how I like to read on the show, and now all you've done is expose that I don't actually read. I just listen to the books on tape. Ever since I was a kid, I listened to the children's books on tape. Like, I don't know fucking bupkis about Dick Tracy other than like he's a detective that wears a yellow jacket. So just for the record, now that I know that, if we miss something that's like a reference to a movie or something like that, fucking don't yell at me. I haven't seen any goddamn movies. All right, if it wasn't in our stupid comic book on tape, I probably don't know fuck all about it. So I'll ask you then, Josh, because I have a lot to say about this fucking game. I've been replaying it to get ready for this episode. You actually gave me the physical copy of this game that we had when we were kids, for the NES. I'll ask you, like, do you like, I know you can beat it, but like, do you like this game?
When I feel like torturing and punishing myself, yes.
Yeah. But like, okay, and I get that, because like everyone's got stupid NES games that were notoriously difficult, but that they found a way to beat it. Like I could do that with Bart versus the Space Mutants. You could do that with Dick Tracy.
I only got to like the 3rd level on that one.
Exactly. But you could do Dick Tracy.
But cheat codes.
Everybody's got these stupid NES games that are just notoriously difficult that they can beat. But like as an adult now, I understand what I'm supposed to do, kinda. I still can't beat this fucking game, but I get it. But like I remember you renting this a lot when we were kids, and I never really played it. I'd like play it for a few minutes. I couldn't figure out what to do, and I was like, this is fucking stupid, and I'm going to go play Mega Man or fucking whatever. But like, how? Like, why? What is it about this game? Like, why keep playing this fucking game? Like, I get it now. As a 39-year-old man, it makes sense, but you can't tell me this game made sense to like fucking 6-year-old Josh.
Well, the first level did, but beyond that, no. Like as a kid, my biggest problem was I like it just because you could, run around and shoot people.
Yeah.
It's like poor man's Grand Theft Auto at the time, I guess.
That's exactly where I was going. I was streaming this game to get ready for this podcast. And if you've never played it, you guys listening to this, basically the game is split up between like a city view where it looks like vintage GTA and you drive around in a cop car and you go from like building to building. And then the parts where you actually enter the buildings and it becomes like a side scroller, action shooter, puncher game. And we'll kind of talk about both. But like, to me, like the game, I actually was quite surprised. Like the game, like the top down city driving part looks surprisingly good.
For NES it does.
Right? Like I'm looking at it and there were people that were coming by my stream being like, is this GTA? And it's like, it's got the little badges in the corner, which are your health, but they look like the badges from GTA. And it's got that top down view. And I was like, I could see if someone had never played this and you told them this was what GTA was on the NES, I think you could convince somebody of that.
Oh, probably. I mean, you got random guys shooting at you from rooftops, like
which is
civilian cars just spawn out of fucking nowhere, and they all look the exact same.
Yeah, exactly. And let me say, first of all, whoever designed this fucking city is a maniac, because the city fucking sucks. But like, it's just. And that's what it does. So like you start out the first mission and you have to like solve a case and you get one clue. And then all you can do is like look at headshots, look at your notepad where you've written down. And this is one of the things about this game that bugs me is that Dick Tracy only writes down some of the clues, which fucking burns my ass because you'll like, and the first clue will be like, oh, go to 5th and C, because all the buildings have like a number and a letter in them. So you go to 5th and C and you fight the bad guys, you make your way to the end, and then there's a bad guy there, and then you can interrogate the bad guy, and then the bad guy will give you like a tip, and then you can follow that tip to the next clue, and so on and so forth. But like, is it not stupid to you that like when Dick Tracy goes back to his office between missions and you sit down, he doesn't write down everything they tell him. He only writes down every second or third thing they tell him. So if you're not paying attention and one of the bad guys tells you where to go and you're not listening, you're fucked.
Yeah, you have to go back through and reinterrogate the guy, which means you got to kill all the fucking thugs again. It's
so stupid because it's like it's already cryptic enough. And like as a kid, I had no fucking idea. As an adult, I started playing it and I was like, okay, so I go to 5th and D, and then 5th and D is like, I dealt with a guy with. And I know this isn't the right clues, but like, I dealt with the guy with the big head. And then you go back to the office and look at the mugshots and find the guy with the big head. And he likes to hang out at 4th and Q. So then you go to 4th and Q. And like, I get how they're, and I do like that concept, but I just like, that's my first gripe. And I have a few gripes about this. And I want to say, I like this game. I have a lot of gripes about it, but at the end of the day, I like it. But like, that's one of my biggest gripes is I'm like, this guy's supposed to be this like Hall of Fame legendary detective, and he doesn't write down shit. Fucking drives me up the goddamn wall. And then like
he only writes down the actual clues, like when there's the big word flashing clue at a table or something. He'll write that down.
Yeah. But otherwise, like you said, you fight your way through these fucking buildings, and the side-scrolling building parts are the hardest part of the game. They're fucking vicious. And then you get to the end, and then you interrogate a guy, and he gives you a clue. And if you're not paying attention, like, and I happened to be a couple of times I was streaming, and I was like talking to the stream and not really paying attention. And then all of a sudden I find out like, no, now I'm fucked because I didn't write it down. Now I have to fight my way all the way back through this fucking level again. And if you die once, like there is no lives. If you die once,
it's game over as soon as you go down.
It's all the way back to the beginning of the case, and you have to start from scratch. And I don't know, but I assume that even if you know where to go, you have to play through the level in order. Like you can't say at the end of the level, you know it's going to take you to like 6 and I. You can't just go to 6 and I and arrest the bad guy. You have to do every step along the way.
No, because if you don't have all the clues and you try to arrest the bad guy, the chief is like, well, you don't have all the evidence that you need to do that, and then you get in trouble.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So, like, I will say that, like, we're going to get into the intricacies of Dick Tracy, but I have to, like, when you look at it like that, Josh, like, you've got notepads, you've got mugshots, you got to drive around and look for clues. Like you said, you can't, I mean, you have the option to arrest people anytime you want, but if you arrest people without enough evidence, you lose and just get in trouble. Like, I'm not saying that necessarily this is a good game, but I respect how this is not the worst movie licensed game on the NES by a long shot. Like, they tried. I respect
For
that.
a detective game, I think it was a little bit ahead of its time.
Yeah, I had some
But
people.
of course, it has the Nintendo middle finger of being ridiculously tough.
Yeah, it's got that NES tough thing. I had people. You played. I didn't play it, but you played L.A. Noire, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I actually really like that game.
Yeah, I thought you did. I had people in the stream saying this was like NES L.A. Noire.
Pretty close. Like, L.A. Noire, you got to find all the clues, and the interrogation in L.A. Noire was way better.
Of course, yeah. But like, that's what I mean though. Like, it's ambitious. Like, you and I are both big Ghostbusters fans, and we used to rent Ghostbusters all the time. And like, and I love like to make a good Ghostbusters video game should be so easy. And the NES Ghostbusters game is fucking horrendous. It's awful.
Oh yeah, it really is. I could never get very far on that one.
No, it's terrible. And like, it's not even fun. And like, you look at this game, and I understand, I guarantee you a lot of people listening that played this growing up are like, I didn't know what to do. It was too hard. I was lost all the time. I get it. But I as I grow older and I go back and play NES games, I have a bit more appreciation for the ones that tried to do something outside of the box. You know, they knew the technology was limited, and they tried to get inventive and come up with new ideas and stuff. And I respect that. They could have made this just a side. Frankly, maybe this would have been a better game if it had just been go from level to level, beat up the bad guys, catch the villain, and win. But I respect that they tried to put in all the investigations and gathering evidence and stuff. I think it's a cool. To me, where it falls apart is how fucking hard it is. But I like the idea of it.
Yeah, it's like early world, like early time, like open world kind of game. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Like you can go wherever you want, but if you go to an address that's not involved in the case, like I'm sure you did, it's just a single room and you can't go anywhere.
Yeah, you don't even do it. Which, admittedly, I like that. So yeah, like I have no idea how many buildings you can go into this game, but there's quite a few that you can go into. And if you go to the wrong building, there's just nothing there, and you just leave. And I actually didn't realize that until we were recording the first part of this podcast, and I was like, oh wow, I forgot about that. But I will say, like, that's better than showing up to every single level in this fucking city full of bad guys, fighting all the way through, and then finding out you went to the wrong place.
Yeah, but then you think, like, what the hell kind of city is this? There's a billion thugs and 2 cops.
Yeah, and I was thinking that too. Like, every time I watch anything Batman, I'm just like, why would anybody live in Gotham? This just seems like a horrible city. And that you're
or you
right.
think with all those thugs, they just go after the police and then they own the city.
Yeah, exactly. So you're right. It could be a lot worse, but it's still. So, okay. So step one is figuring out where you have to go. And I really sincerely, the only gripe I have, because to me, like, this game breaks down to 3 parts, and it's figuring out where to go, driving around, and then the side scrolling parts. And of those 3 factors, the figuring out where you're supposed to go, I think, now I've only gotten to the 3rd of 5 cases. I can't beat the 3rd case, but I think it's actually kind of intuitive, and I like, because sometimes it won't just tell you have to go to like 4th and D. You know, there's like one level where you find like a back scratcher with an eye carved into it, and then you go back to your mugshots and you flip through the 6 mugshots, and one of the characters' names is Itchy, I think, and you're like, well, that's yeah. So you're like, well, that must be the eye guy, because that's the name that starts with I, and then it tells you he's at 7th and H, so then you go there to catch him. I like that. I actually think that part's really clever. My only major gripe is that Dick doesn't write everything down, so if you're not paying attention, you lose clues. But then when we were talking about this, when I was talking about this game beforehand with Hago, he was saying, because you've beaten this game, he said in the last couple of cases there's some somewhat cryptic clues that aren't as obvious as the first couple.
Oh no, for sure. Like the 5th case alone can get, like, you know who it is right off the bat, pretty much.
Right.
But again, you have to collect the evidence in order to go after the guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he was saying that, like, the clues don't become as obvious as, like he said, oh, what was the example he used? There was something like, you could hear a foghorn. And so he's like, so clearly you have to go somewhere near the water, but then you're going down to the water and going through those, trying to figure out where you're supposed to go and everything.
Oh, the fucking dock levels are the worst.
Yes. And then, okay, so then let's use that. Like, did I forget anything? Like, is there anything that I've missed from the fucking stupid ass actual solving of the cases before we get on to the action parts? Like, is there anything that I've forgotten about that you're like, oh no, there's this, or are we pretty well good? on the solving
but one
cases.
other thing was like you were saying about the mug shots, you get 6 per mission or, case. And out of those 6, only 3 of them have something to do with the case.
Right.
So if you pick one of the other 3, you get in trouble.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
And you only get in trouble a couple of times for the boss is like, you're a horrible detective, you're off the case.
Yeah, I know, yeah, and then he just fires you. And I'm like, dude, I'm the only one out here doing any fucking work. Pound sand. How about one of you fucking help me?
There's not one other fucking cop car in the city.
Yeah, fucking useless pieces of shit. Okay, so then, so you mentioned the dock place. So let's get into so once you know where you have to go, well, you know what? Let's do them in order. So like we've talked about the solving the clues. Once you know where you have to go, then you enter the fucking part where it's like top down Grand Theft Auto style where you're driving your cop car around this city. And I remember as a kid finding the driving controls hard, but playing it now, I actually don't find the driving part hard. It's the fucking goddamn everything that hurts you that's hard. But actually,
like the driving is easy. It automatically makes you drive on the right side of the road.
Yeah,
and like all that kind of crap. But like I said earlier, you got the snipers on the rooftop, and if you're in your car and they shoot the car, you take damage.
Yeah, and the thing about it is like, so yeah, if you've never played it, picture old school GTA. It's that top down view, and you're driving around in this city, and there's these like tiny little snipers up sitting on top of random buildings just shooting at your cop car. And you, like, until you've until you've played the game a few times, your only choice is either rip through the city and hope that they don't shoot you, or
they'll hit
crawl.
you if you go at full speed no matter what.
Okay, well then there you go. So then you can't do that.
Yeah.
So then you have to crawl through this city and like just scour these roofs for these fucking random snipers. And they're so hard to spot. And every time I think there's none around, then all of a sudden I take damage because I get shot by one. So then to shoot them, you can only shoot at like certain angles from your car. So you have to basically hit stop, get out of your car, walk around to line up the shot and shoot these fucking snipers. And it's just so, I don't understand what the point of these fucking snipers is. It's so frustrating. They're just annoying.
No, because even reading the comics and everything, there was never a mention of hundreds of random snipers in the city looking for the cops.
No, it's fucking, And then, now I played it on my NES Classic. I'll be honest. I played it on my NES Classic. And I wasn't save stating my way through the game, but you know how there's the passwords. When I would beat a case, instead of writing down the password, that's when I would save. And that way
that's
I was
what
like,
I usually did too.
Right. So that way when I want to hop back in, instead of having to enter a password, I just load my save and I'm back at the start of whatever quest I was on at that time. But then Hago was telling me, and you've told me this too, that the fucking snipers, they stay dead when you play the same file over. But if you put in your password, like if you have to walk away and you come back and put a password in,
they're all back.
They're all back. And now you have to fucking crawl around the city taking them out again. Fuck you. That's such BS.
I'm sure you remember it. Since you said you beat the first couple cases.
Yeah.
In the first case, you have to do a dock mission, and there's 4 snipers on one roof.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, when you're driving up the
And
side.
you're also in a car chase when you drive by them. So you're going at full speed, just mashing the shit out of the shoot button to take out this car in front of you. And then all of a sudden you take like half your health is gone because these 4 snipers just blew the hell out of you.
Oh, okay. So, yeah. So the snipers, Josh has taught, there's this one part where you're driving alongside the fucking docks and there's this long building and there's just like 4 fucking snipers or 3 or 4 of them just sitting up there. And then your only choice is to hop out of the car and just kind of move around and hope they can't hit you and try to pick them all off. And you almost like, when you're new especially, like you're taking damage because you don't know they're fucking there. And then so that's one of the things that can hurt you on the main map is the snipers on the roof. The second thing that can hurt you are there just random civilian driven like yellow cars that Like, they hurt you when you touch them, and they're pretty easy to avoid, with the exception of when you try to go back to that fucking starting police station, which is at the end of that dead-end road, and there's a yellow
There's always
car.
a car that fucking spawns, and he drives right at you.
Yeah, he pulls a Yui in front of you, and you need to leave this guy like 30 car lengths, because the way he turns, he's gonna hit you, and then that takes damage. And then, to top all that off, sometimes when you come out of missions, you have to just go into the car chase. Like, I love the car chase concept. It's awesome. It's classic. Every kid grew up, playing the car chase cops and robbers thing. And you come out of a mission, and you have to chase these blue cars and just mass shoot and just pump them full of bullets and slow them down. But what's BS about them is there's no way to dodge. If I'm wrong, tell me. There's no way to dodge the bullets they're shooting back at you. You just have to mass shoot and try to kill them before they hit you too many times.
No, I've never found a way to dodge it. And one of the problems I've always had as a kid is that when you finally kill their car, it just spins in circles in the one spot. And if you happen to get close to it, it hits you like boom, 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 boom,
Yes!
boom, and you lose like fucking 6 hits.
Yeah. So you'll come out of excuse me. Sorry, I've had a lot of comedy shows this weekend, everybody. My throat's a little bit hoarse. So you come out of a level, and then the getaway music starts playing right away, and then you see the blue car, and you got to drive behind it, and your only choice is to just mash attack and pump it full of, I don't know how many times you have to shoot it, like 20 or whatever.
It's a fair amount.
Yeah, and so you have to so you just mash attack and try to fill it with bullets before, because every once in a while it'll shoot a bullet back at you and take away some of your health. And we'll get into your health in a minute too, because you have a very finite amount of health in this fucking game. But then when you finally shoot it enough times to stop it, it does this crazy spin out, but you don't know when it's gonna fucking spin out. And so if you're not quick on your brakes, then your car gets too close, and then while it's spinning, it hits you like 5 times. It's such crap. I love those car chase parts, but I have no idea if it's even possible to get through them without taking damage. I have no idea.
No, I think the most I've ever done is 2 damage, and that's just because he shot me twice.
Yeah.
Before I spun out his car, and I stopped in time.
And keep in mind, if you didn't already take out a bunch of the snipers, there's going to be goddamn fucking snipers shooting at you while you're doing it too, which is just, fuck you, Dick. It's so hard. It is such a hard, and when I beat the first case, getting ready to replay it for the show, I was like, this isn't as hard as I remember. This isn't that bad. And then the second case starts to get a little tougher, and then by the third case, fuck me. And we haven't even gotten into the side-scrolling levels, which is where the shit really hits the fan.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to get to that part. And, oh, boy. I'm trying to keep Angry Adam under control because I'm tired. And I don't hate this game enough to get angry, but he's right on the cusp. And so we're going to get into the side-scrolling and all that stuff in just a second. First, we're going to take a quick pause for a possible word from our sponsor. Or maybe not. I don't know. If we had a sponsor, thank you, sponsor, for sponsoring the show. Dude, the fucking health in this game, your health is 4 cop badges in a corner. And every time you get hit, if I'm not mistaken, you lose like half of a cop badge.
Yeah, exactly. You can take 9 hits because for some reason you're still alive when you have no health.
Yeah. So you have 8 hits, and then the 9th one is when you have no badges, and then if you get hit, it's over. And when I say hit, like Josh said, when you're on the overworld, if you bump into a civilian car, you take damage. If a sniper shoots you, you take damage. If the fucking getaway car shoots you, you take damage. If the getaway car blows up and spins and touches you, you take a whole bunch of damage. But then when
Only thing I can think of quick, actually, with the snipers too, is if you're out of your car and they shoot your car, you don't take damage.
Yeah.
So you can actually go behind your car, and then they can't hit you, and you can shoot over your car to hit them.
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't know you could shoot over your car. I was just like, I would see them, and I would just kind of move around until they took a shot and missed, because they only shoot like every.
That's exactly what I did, because they shot only 6 or 7 seconds.
Yeah.
Usually just
lure out a shot,
shoot, and then line up a shot and take them out.
Yeah, and then take them out. But I never knew you could hide behind your car. Fuck. So all of those things take damage. And if you manage to get to the level that you have to go to without getting picked off by snipers or crashing into horrible drivers or anything, then you go into the side-scrolling parts of the game. And, oh my God. Okay, I don't even know where to fucking start with these. Oh, you know what? Let's start with a positive. my opinion, for an NES game, much like the graphics in the top-down driving part, I actually think the side-scrolling parts look pretty good. Like, the backgrounds are colorful, they're nice. You're in like alleyways, and the piers are a pain in the ass. We'll get into the difficulty, but like Dick Tracy looks good. The enemies are good. They're all big and they're easy to tell what they are, and I think they look quite nice actually. Like for an NES game, it looks pretty solid.
Yeah, it's like between NES and not quite Super Nintendo, but
No. But it looks, it's not.
But it's
It's
still
not
pretty
hideous.
good.
Yeah, it's not hideous. But then you get into the difficulty of these fucking levels, and oh god, you know what? I'm gonna shut up for a second. What are your thoughts on these side-scrolling levels? I need to collect my thoughts because I'm still frustrated by these. So like, what do you think of these levels? Do you like these parts? Like, what do you like better, the driving or these side-scrolling parts?
well, the driving was funner as a kid, but then playing it as an adult, the side-scrolling part is definitely, I think it's funner.
Yeah.
Because like anybody who's played the game knows, I didn't know this as a kid, and I would just randomly die all the time, that if you shoot a thug who does not have a gun, you take damage.
Oh, fuck me.
And as a kid, I didn't know that, so I just pull out my handgun, run through the level shooting everybody, and all of a sudden I'd shoot a guy and I'd die. And I was like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah. And before all of you make fun of us and say read the instructions, we were renting this game a lot as kids, and we didn't always get the instructions. Yeah, when you go into the levels, like there's other enemies, but the primary enemies are either armed or unarmed goons, hired goons. Who? Hired goons.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
Yeah, shout out to anyone that gets that reference. Who? Hired goons. But everybody better get that fucking reference. But yeah, there's unarmed and there's armed guys, and you can either have your gun out or you can just be throwing fists. And if you shoot, you can punch anybody, armed or unarmed. You can punch somebody, and one shot takes most of them down, like one punch. Some of them take a few punches. One shot from your gun.
Take like 10, 15 of them when you get to the final case.
Oh fuck! So like they'll all
and they move like the speed of light.
Dude, yeah. Oh, I got a story. I'll get there. So you either punch them or shoot them. But like Josh said, if they're unarmed and they shoot you, and you shoot them, pardon me, you take damage. Which I understand that, like, again, that's one of those things where I'm like, that's a clever little mechanic. They're like, you can't shoot a cop can't. I mean, we're not getting into a political discussion about the police, but you're not supposed to shoot an unarmed man. And in this game, you can't do that either. But you're right. If you don't realize it, first of all, if you don't know that rule, you're fucked. Because like you said, stupid kid goes into a room shooting everybody and you die before they all die. But the other thing, and this is what pisses me off about this game more than anything about this fucking game, is to scroll through your items, abilities, whatever, you push select. And when you don't have any first aid kits or tear gas or anything, it's either your gun.
Not that bad.
No, it's either your gun or your punch. And it's easy. You're like, well, if I've got my gun out, then I'm going to, when I push B, I'll shoot. And if my gun's not out, then I will punch. But then you start picking up the first aid, the fucking first aid kits.
It's a lifesaver, but it's, I could not figure out how to use the fucking first aid kit as a kid, ever.
So fuck me. So as I'm sure you heard during the discussion with Haga Waffle, you have to hold select, then push B to use your first aid kit. Every other item in the game, you just get to it in your inventory and then push B to use it. And what drives me fucking insane, Josh, is that when you have the first aid kit selected as your active item, you look like you're just ready to punch. Like, it doesn't show you holding a first aid kit. It's just Dick Tracy without his gun in his hand. But then those super fast running, punching enemies come running at you, and I think, well, I don't have my gun out. I can punch these guys, and I'm hitting B and nothing's happening. And then I realize, oh, it's because I've got my fucking first aid kit selected, so I got to hit select again to get to my fist. But while I'm doing that, they've taken like half of my fucking health, because they come running at you so fast in the second half of the game. And it's just, I've said it a billion times, if you have to hold select to use the first aid kit, then why not just make it if you hold select and push B, you'll use the first aid kit, and if you just push B, you'll punch. That alone would save me so, like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, the amount of times I didn't realize that I couldn't punch because I had my first aid kit selected? Fuck me.
I agree with you fully. I think the only reason why they did that is so you couldn't just accidentally use up your first aid kits.
Yeah, but I
agree. Like, it should be that if you held select and press B, first aid. If you just press B, you can punch.
Yeah, frankly, I think that's a clever idea because even in other games, I'm so bad for accidentally using items that I don't mean to use. So I like and in this game, I don't know if I've ever had a tear gas that I didn't waste by accident because I thought I was on punch and hit B and threw a tear gas. So I'm fine with having to hold select to use it because you're right. It does. And like you mentioned it a little bit, we'll get into this. Like first aid kits are worth their weight in gold in this fucking game. So I'm fine with not being able to waste them. But like, just if just pushing B when I have my first aid kit selected doesn't do anything, then let me defend my fucking self. Fuck me. It adds so fuck you. It's such BS. Fuck you.
Especially when you get to the later levels and like 4 or 5 of those fucking guys come at you punching.
Yeah. So I want to tell my story. So I was on the third case, and like we said, when you die in this, you have 1 life. So when you either arrest people incorrectly too many times or you run out of badges, it's back to the beginning of there's a password for each of the 5 cases. But if you die, you're going back to square one on that case. And like I said, even if you know every building and every stop you have to make, you've got to go through them and do them all again. And I was right at the end of the third case. I was in the final building. I just had to get to whoever it was I was trying to catch them. And I had no health. I had no first aid kits and all my badges were gone. So I am crawling through this level, like tapping forward and moving like 2 pixels at a time. Because the shooting bad guys, which we'll get into, they shoot you so fast. But if you can see them, but they're only like half on the screen, they won't do anything and you can get rid of them. So I'm crawling through. And then all of a sudden, one of those fucking really fast punchers runs in and just donkey punches me in the back of the head. And it knocks me out, and I had no more health, so it was over. And I went full-blown 8-year-old angry at him, temper tantrum. Man, I lost my fucking mind. Because it was
you
right
threw
back.
The controller, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. Because it was right back to the fucking start. It is those fucking punching guys. Suck my fucking ass. I hate them. They're so cheap. Fuck you. And then, sorry, go ahead. No, I was just going to rant about more enemies. What else? What were you going to say?
I was going to say your only advantage there is if you have the super punch.
Right. Yes. Which is, I love that. You punch them and it's like a fucking Disney cartoon where they just spin around and like fly across the screen.
But they take out anybody they hit too.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. But like,
yeah,
the reason I had no health was because there were a couple instances where I got teed off on because I accidentally had my fucking first aid kit selected. So then I was burning my first aid kits, healing for the damage I took because I had selected my first aid kit. Fuck, it made me so mad. And then don't even get me fucking started on the safes that drop on you. What a fucking cheap pile of shit those things are.
Fuck yeah. Okay, I forgot about the safes. You're right. Those are fucking bullshit.
They fall so fast and you can't trigger them.
There's no hint.
What?
There's no hint that they're there.
There's no, it's such big, and like, so they don't start until the 3rd level. And at least in the first part, you realize like the first one that hits you, like if you've never played that game before, there's no way it's not going to hit you. But then at least you know. So then for the future, you're like, well, every time I go under a window, I better fucking crawl and be ready to run back because one of these stupid safes, and they fall at like the speed that like Simon falls in Castlevania. Like they go toward the ground. But then I never got this far, but Hang a Waffle was saying in some of the later levels, they don't even fall out of windows. They just fall out of random places.
Yeah, like out of the top black bar where all your information is, that's where they'll appear, and they just fall out of random. Exactly.
What the shit? And you have no time to react to them at all. Like, you have to know they're coming. It's such a... Fuck this fucking game.
Yeah, it's some Acme shit right there.
It is Acme shit. It's fucking horse shit is what it is. And then, like I was saying earlier, the fucking gun guys, man. Like, because you basically, for most of the levels in the game, there's like 2 level, like stories. Sometimes there's 3, but a lot of the time you're either up top, like on like a balcony, or you're down on the main ground floor. And the shooting guys, like, as soon as they're fully on the screen, they just start fucking shooting. And dude, like, if you don't know they're coming, it is so difficult to avoid getting hit by them once. It is so difficult. And it fucking just, like, fucking burns. Like, am I wrong? Like, do you struggle with that as much as I do?
If they're on the same level as me, they're not that bad. But as soon as they're aiming up or down at you, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yes.
And like the
Yes.
first level, you know, they fire like, you know, every couple of seconds, just like bang, bang. But then when you get to later levels, as soon as they're on the screen, it's like bang, 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 and
Yeah.
you never have to reload or anything.
Yeah, and you're right that like when they're on the same level as you, it's pretty easy to either duck or jump and avoid their shots. Like I don't even shoot them half the time. I just sneak up to them and punch them because I can save ammo. But when they're above you or below you, especially I find it when they're below you, because at least when they're above you, I find like if I keep running, I usually get underneath that first shot. And then I can figure out.
You can just shoot up at them, no problem.
Right. But like when they're below you, they just fucking hit you. And that's another thing that drives me crazy is to shoot at an angle. If you want to shoot up, you hold up. And then whatever way he's facing, he'll shoot at a 45-degree angle up into the air. But when they're below you, if you just hold down, you just duck. So you need to hold it at an angle to shoot down.
Yeah, you got to hold down and right at the same time.
Yeah, and it's just, and while you're trying to line up these fucking shots to hit them, and you have to be at the same angle where they can hit you to fucking shoot them, while you're trying to line up those shots, God help you if a fucking donkey puncher decides to come running in and hit you in the back of the head, or a fucking guy decides to drop a safe on you, or the fucking rats that are running around hit you, which are such garbage too.
Oh, the rats are bullshit.
They're such crap. Like
you can shoot them, but it's actually fucking hard to do, and they hit you 3-4 times before you can even do it.
Yeah, I either use tear gas or just avoid them. But
yeah, there's I don't remember if they're in level 3, but when you get to like 4 and 5, there's a couple ones where you're like in a boiler room, and if you don't shoot any of the rats, by the time you get to the end of the level, there's like 6 of them running back and forth on the screen. So you're pretty much just staying up on top of the pipes.
And like you said, you mentioned this a while back. The other challenge is that some levels, there's not really any platforming. But then when you're down by like the pier on the docks, there's times where you have to jump from like box to box or dock to dock or climb, what are they called? Like pillars, I guess, like the dock pillars and shit. And if you miss a jump or something by mistake, you fall in the water and then you got to do the whole fucking level over again.
Yeah, you lose a half a shield.
Yeah.
And you're booted back out to the world map, and everything you did in the level is reset.
Every enemy, everything. It's fucking... And then, like, okay. And then, like, we've been talking about the health. You can pick up first aid kits as you go, and they're just so ridiculously valuable. Because outside of using first aid kits to get all your health back, the only way to recover health during a case is to go back to the police station, and you get one badge.
And that's only if you have less than a badge of health.
Yeah. If you're down to like a badge and a half, which is 4 hits, because you get the 3 badge halves and then the hit that kills you. There's no way to get your health back unless you go find a first aid kit somewhere. And after the first couple levels, those first aid kits are not exactly laying around every fucking corner and level.
No, they're hidden. So you have to like punch a lamp, and one might appear.
Yeah. Fucking BS. What a stupid fucking video game. So everything in the levels hurts you. Everything on the overworld hurts you. You have practically no way to get your health back. And you can plug away at a case for 20 or 30 minutes and then fall apart right at the end because a goddamn cheap safe gets dropped on you or a rat runs into your foot or something. And bada bing, bada boom. It's right back to square one on that fucking case to start from scratch. It is just... I almost feel like I don't sound like... I do like this game, but I sound like I hate it because I've done nothing but bitch about it. But, like, it deserves it. It's hard.
I was just saying, can you imagine being, like, one of the bad guys in that game, and you got hundreds of thugs, and this one detective takes them all out, and then gets killed by a fucking rat?
Yeah, no shit. And you're like, I should have just fucking hired a bunch of rats. Or a civilian fucking pulls an illegal U-turn and kills the cop and just drives away. And now the city's fine. Fucking game.
Yeah, because they don't know what their brakes are.
So, I mean, I literally think I think that like, there's not really any ways to like upgrade your equipment outside of you can pick up like the Tommy gun. that does like the super fast shooting, which I actually find, like we were talking about this in the first part of this discussion. Even when I get the Tommy gun, I'm like, well, that's neat, but I'm still just tapping shoot to shoot once because I'm trying to save the ammo for it. Like I don't use it that
Yeah, and I
often.
mean like the AI for the guys that shoot you are so damn good at ducking that even if you fire the Tommy gun at full auto, they can poke their head up between the bullets.
Yeah, exactly.
You will get them eventually, but
Yeah. And then, like, there's not really... Now, there's not really boss fights outside of trying to shoot down the cars that are getting away. But now Hago was saying at the very last case, you go to catch, like, the last bad guy, and every other main bad guy in the game, you just walk up to them and punch them to interrogate them. And he said when you get to that very last one, he suddenly starts shooting you, and it can kill you. Which is fucking cheap as fuck, too.
yeah, and you gotta get up and punch him, and he shoots like the other guys, just like bang, 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 bang.
Well, he doesn't, he's out, you never take me alive, copper. But, like, other than that, there's, like, it's a very, like, to me, they were clearly trying to get inventive with the finding clues and going around the city and having evidence. And I do like that. It's just that, like, the combat leaves something to be desired. It's obnoxiously difficult. The fact that there's no lives or that you don't get all your health back when you go back to the cop station or something is really frustrating. Don't even get me started again on the fucking inventory select. It's an ambitious game. It's just a very, very difficult fucking video game. So you can beat it, yeah?
Like I have once without cheat code.
I was going to say, did you have to use a cheat code or did you do it on the fair and square?
No, I did it fair and square once. I did use, like you did, I used the save states at the end of a mission.
Right.
Not during the missions, but the farthest I ever got as a kid without anything was the fourth one, and then I got stuck.
It's just such
the fourth case.
it's just, like, to me, it's just one of those games where, and this was the thing with so many classic NES games. Like, I'm thinking Bart versus the Space Mutants. I'm thinking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. There's so many classic NES games where, like, at least on paper, if you just put in the reps and practice enough and memorize where all the bad guys are and all the items are, they become beatable. You just have to put in your reps. And I frankly do think if this game was easier, and this is the thing with so many NES games, is, like, it's frustrating how tough a lot of NES games are, but, like, this game's an hour long. Like, if it was easy, you'd beat it in, like, a day and be pissed off. You know what I mean? Like, difficulty on the NES to me was like an artificial way to extend the length of the game.
No, I get what you're saying. You're saying that whole beat a game and get pissed off. I know this is off the main subject of Dick Tracy, but I remember you did that as a kid once. I think it was the Kirby for the Game Boy, and you saved up your money for it, and then you fucking beat it in like a half an hour.
I've told that story so many times, and I'm like, fucking, that was like my life savings. And I beat Kirby Dreamland the night I brought it home, and I was so mad. So it's like, you got to find that balance between, like, it's got to be beatable, but you can't beat it in like 20 minutes. Because, like, realistically, how much replay value is there in this? It's not like there's alternate ways to take on missions.
You have to.
Like,
the replay value when it is just like, well, getting your ass kicked repeatedly, I guess. Because, like you say, the missions don't change at all. It's always the same person did it with the same clues and the same spots.
Yeah, like, and I don't even know, you know, it's easy to sit here now in 2023 and criticize a game from, like, the fucking late 80s or 90s, whenever it came out, early 90s. And I'm not saying that the levels should have been, like, randomly generated or anything, because obviously that, you know, that technology didn't exist.
That'd be too advanced for it, yeah.
But it would have been cool if it, like, sent you to random addresses at least. You know what I mean? Like, because it is a little bit, I don't even know how much of a, like, even if the levels were exactly the same once you get into the level, it's just a little bit, like, what frustrates me, and I understand that, listen, I grew up in the 80s, so did you. We both played these NES games. I know all about dying and having to do the level over again. We've all played those games. But it is just, like, with how tedious some of these levels are, it's frustrating when you've been plugging away at a mission for half an hour, die on the last level, and then have to just walk through the exact, like, just go through the motions again. Do you know what I mean? Like when I die at the end of a long case, I have no urge to hop in and take another shot at it. Because it's not like dying at the end of a level in Mario and having to play that level again. It's like I have to go back and play through the same 6 fucking levels again. You know what I'm saying?
No, yeah, and if, like you said, if you're not playing with like the save state at the end, you got to put in the password. Now all the damn snipers are back.
Right.
So you got to crawl through the city again, and
it just, again, I think it's just there to extend the length of the game. But I know what. All that said, I know I've shit all over it, but like I really do like this game. It's not the worst NES game I've ever played. It's certainly not the worst licensed NES game I've ever played. It's kind of fun, and I like the soundtrack. The music gets fucking so repetitive, but I do like the soundtrack. And,
there's like 3 tunes, I think.
Oh yeah, I probably used all 3 in this fucking show. But
Probably,
I like it.
Like the cop shop, the city, and the side scroll.
Yeah, and to top it all off, never forget there's a bad guy called the Blank. And that's awesome.
And that's actually I've stolen that and used that as a username a ton.
Oh, really?
But, I use the Blank almost everywhere. I mean, like, when I was a little kid, I used fucking...
Be careful, because whatever you say, people are going to be Googling it.
That's fine.
All right.
I mean, as a kid, I used a thing called Ultra Dude, which is stupid. That was when I was, like, 12 or 13, yeah.
I have a stupid one from my childhood.
That didn't last very long.
Yeah, I have a stupid one from my childhood, too, but I'm not saying it on the show because I don't want everyone finding it, so...
that one's long gone. I haven't used that in forever.
Right, you're good then. I love it. What a dumb game. But I don't know, man. It's so funny. I remember like you and I would go rent video games, and I remember renting this a lot. I remember renting Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I remember The Addams Family.
Jaws. I remember that one too.
Tubin, Bump and Jump. I remember renting a lot of Mega Man myself. To me, like I think that's what I like about this game the most was replaying it. It just took me back to those days of just renting old NES games. And there was just something so special about renting an NES game and being like, this is my weekend. Like this is what I'm playing for the next 2 days.
Because you felt like you had to crush it before you had to return it, right?
Yeah, it was just very cool. So I think we covered everything. Is there anything we forgot? Are you ready to score this thing and get on with your life?
No, I think we sufficiently shit all over it.
Yeah, I think we've literally talked about everything. So for the scoring scale on this one, Hago Waffle said that Breathless Mahoney, the young lady that says some very risque things to Dick Tracy throughout the game, she says she has 37 words of dialogue throughout the game. So that's the scale we're going with. Maybe my favorite scale ever. So I'll give you the ball, Josh. Out of 37 words of Breathless Mahoney dialogue, how many words would you give Dick Tracy out of 37? What a stupid scale.
It is a pretty stupid scale, but if I had to like kind of split it up a little bit, I'd say for like the gameplay and like just the overall enjoyment, the game was probably like 20-25.
All right.
But for like fucking difficulty, it's like 35-36.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah, if you like them hard, this one's for you. I'll give it. You know what? I feel like it's a little high. I'm gonna give it I'll give it 25. I think like for everything in it that frustrates me and that I think plays like shit, I have really become a big fan of going back to old NES games and finding the really ambitious ones that just had big ideas and didn't just mail it in with like crappy, boring side-scrolling levels and tried to make it something new and intuitive and inventive. And I respect games that do that even if the games suck. And I think this game semi-sucks, but it's just too clever for me to give a bad score to. So I'll give it 25. I'll never beat it, but I'll give it a 25. It was a fun game.
Yeah, they were more adventurous back then because it was like, today you're making a game, it takes 5-6 years to make a game. Back then it was like 6 months we can crap out a game if it sucks, whatever.
Yeah, oh yeah. This game was like, dude, there's some of those old fucking movie games and shit where I'm like, this was made in 20 minutes. Fuck me. Like, this is like the Pizza Pop of video games. You threw it in the microwave and we're like, I don't think it's quite ready, but it's good enough. And that was it. Fuck yeah. Good stuff. Man, I can't believe we talked for 48 minutes about Dick Tracy. That's fucking insane.
No, I actually thought we were going to get like 20 minutes on this one.
Me too. I think we just talked for longer than the fucking game is. So, Josh, good shit, man. Thank you so much for giving me a call and for talking Dick Tracy. I appreciate it, buddy.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
And that's going to do it for this week's episode. Josh, thank you so much for giving me a call and talking Dick Tracy. And Hang a Waffle, thank you so much for giving me a call and for sponsoring the episode and for your generosity and for your patience, because it took a long fucking time to get to this episode. And finally, thank you to every single one of you nerds for listening to this, because whether this was your first Remember the Game or your 234th, I'm so grateful for the support. I'm glad that you're listening. Well, I was going to say I'm glad you enjoyed it, but maybe you hated it. Assuming you enjoyed it, I'm glad. Thank you so much. And if you did enjoy it, leave us a nice review, would you? I'm not sure what they accomplished, but if the other podcast hosts are going to ask for them, I want to be like the cool kids, so I'm going to keep asking for them too. And if you want more of these, there's lots of them. Patreon.com/remember the game. $2 a month. Get you 2 extra shows every week. There's about 300 bonus podcasts right now waiting for you. Ad-free. Download them onto your phone. You're done. All kinds of stuff. Don't forget, tomorrow, it'll be our spoiler cast discussion about God of War Ragnarok. And then on Friday, it'll be Game Patch, where we'll talk about all the biggest news in gaming. Next week, we're talking Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core Reunion on Expansion Pass. Lots of game reviews. Just lots. Just patreon.com/remember the game. You know it's there. I'm also at Twitch, twitch.tv/member the game. I try to get on 3 or 4 days a week now. You can come by and say hi. It's lots of fun. And I have a P.O. box. You can find that address at rememberthegamepodcast.com. If you want to send me a postcard or a letter, say hi, tell me where you're listening, I'll write back. Make sure you give me your address, and then I'll write back, and we'll be friends and all that good stuff, all right? My voice is fucked, so I'm going to thank some Patreons and get the fuck out of here. Thanks for listening, everybody, and I'll be back in 7 days with Remember the Game 235, which will be another one of our classic revisited episodes, and we're going back to the NES, and we're talking about 4 mutant turtles that are ninjas and teenagers. We're obviously talking about Super Mario Brothers. No, we're talking the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles next week. It's going to be a lot of fun, all right? Take it easy, everybody. Talk to you on the next one. Cheers. Goodbye. Remember the Game is brought to you by our Patreons. I could not puke up all the content I churn out every week without all of your support. The following people are at the senior executive vice president level or higher at patreon.com/remember the game. And as such, I'm contractually obligated to say their names as quickly as possible. And my throat is really getting dry, so I don't know. We'll see how this fucking goes. I took a big swig of water right into the microphone. A huge thank you to Makeshift Mallow Magic Money, Joe Buck, Sharonic, Andre, I'm a stupid moron with an ugly face and a big butt, and my butt smells and I like to kiss my own butt, James Clark, Dave McGee, DNA Gaming, Slick Rick, Doug Dorn, Chris Fleury, Charlie Medeiros, Andrew Wright, Jordan Fraser Burns, Angry Ticks, Dave Thompson, No One Cares, Aaron Lawson, Nathan Tremblay, A-Town, Morgan, Zane Donovan, Ryan Kinchin, Mike Maloney, G9PSX, Mercury 869, Wolfgang Darren, Sam Wright, Andy Hudson, Doogie, Wolf Magic 21, Johnny CCDC, Joel LeBlanc, Squints, Titan 420, Zonko 504, Russell Aldridge, Jeff Bergeron, Captain Ed, OT Plays Games, Daniel, Tunable Power, John Woodruff, Randy Barrage, Just a Fish, TP Pooper, Denzalo, Holmes, Zach Shepard, Chris Dickin, Frosty Feet 492, Triple, Chugger 22, Elijah Burns, Stephen Parnell, Wolves Destroyer, Ray Sam Wantonga, Zach Coiner, DBXJ, Jameer Williams, Steve Dalk, Phil McCracken, Mizuru, David Marcus, Jacob Adams, Phil Lencher, Ruben Elizald, Eric James, Jake Carter, Biddy, Laces Out, Dan, Beaver Boy, C-Spin, Thomas Smith, Ian Kang, Nicola, Munch Makuchi, Leroy Westrich, Jerry the 3D Printed Saustrich, Evolva, Sean Ramos, DP Cooper, Stud Still Smash, Mojo the Helper Monkey, Brant Hewitt, Gabe, Dan Fuseman, Fuzzy99, Decoy Man, a dude named Adam, John Jameson, Wyatt the Surgeon Rowe playing the Hoagie Man, Scary Terry, Bucky the Beagle Herder, Edridge FPV, Antonio Antonio E, Hagawaffle, High Plains Drifter, Esteban Navarro, K-Hatch, Timothy, Joe Stone, Chris Williams, Oroku Saki's Gardner, Cody Richardson, General Fury, Them Boys on the Roof, current Remember the Game Hall of Famer Mark McHugh, James Juan Francesco, John of the Adult Children Podcast, Matt Hamilton, Nomad, Daniel DeVore, James Black, Drugs Abandon K, Sam Carpenter, Nerdy Hybrid, Adam Fletcher, Colin Bollinger, Sleeper Hit, Joey Mercury, Theoran, Squeak Nuts, Isaias, Timmy the Exuberant Turtle, Brian Neese, Christian Gabriel, Maverick Marty, Musty Beetle, Bud Lightyear, John M. Watkins, Timothy Sabrinsky, Beef Dingleberry, Michael Barjudina, Hitchy Poo, Arctic Vision, Romaldo Marquez, Bulma Simp, Mark but not McHugh, Trevor McKee, Quiet Place Queen, Cam Nelly 23, Zamatos, Skillarooty, Chris Lovin, Oh My God It Froze, Bobby Litton, Brandon DeZeba, Kia Pup, Knife Goes In, Guts Come Out, Works For Me, Heman Demon, James Senabria, Derek Cox, Dakota Guy, Alexander Camps, Ryan Perry, Alex R, It's the Bigfoot, Graham, Lucas Valadez, Itchy Nutsaru, Mr. Papa Giorgio, Solomon Soto, Dar Skywalter, Denton Van Zan, Postman, West Jen, Nick Creature, Hatrick Swayze, Adam Martinet, AFE, Dr. Nightmare 23, Tonebone Swiss, Kevin Monroe, Roldy in the Deep, The Stone Shooter, Shorzy, Digital Dave, Lord Logrod, Von Hugendong, The Second Frosty Bear, Max Saindon, Sour Goatface, Alex X, Alexis Ramos, Faded Sufferance, Tristan Anderson, Benjamin Atkins, Robbie DLC, Ryan Maurice, B Money, Hired Goons, Who, Brandon Helmheckle, It's OG, Tyler Bauer, Dick Pickle Rick, J Vision 719, E-Man, Trucker, Mark Sneed, That One Kid, Josh, Raging Irish, Atriu, Wormwood, Agent Booty Pants, Shoeboxers, Adam Blank, Stiller's Reviewed, Banjo Tooie, Jay Callahan, Robert Joubert, Robier, and Sabin. That was really good considering my voice is almost gone and I suck at this. Fuck yeah. Thanks everybody for the support. Appreciate y'all. Purple Monkey Dishwasher.